Hello, and welcome to Week 2 of our Introduction 2020 Faculty Perspective Series. We're so glad that you've joined us this afternoon. Each week we will present 5 live interdisciplinary faculty perspectives centered around 5 different tracks. Those tracks, in order, are COVID-19, anti-racism, environment and climate change, engaged humanities, and finally, innovation and entrepreneurship, which is what you've tuned in today. In a minute, I will turn things over to today's presenter, who will present for about 30 minutes, and then we will answer many of your questions live on camera. If you're a student watching in Zoom, use the Q&A feature to ask questions of our presenter. We will also follow up after the program to any questions we don't answer live. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce you to Doug Wilson, Senior Instructor of Marketing in the Lundquist College of Business. Today, he's going to ask, what does innovation and entrepreneurship involve? Welcome, Doug. How are you?
Good, Cora. How are you?
I'm great. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here with you today. So I want to begin by addressing this question in terms of what is innovation and entrepreneurship. You may have an idea of what that's about, but I'm going to suggest that this definition is going to be one that really focuses on solving problems. Communicating and conveying
Dramatic today, so we'll go ahead and turn things back over to Professor Wilson.
Welcome back. So I was talking about this definition of innovation and entrepreneurship. And again, it's about problem solving. It's about communicating that in a very meaningful way, but also it applies to for-profit and nonprofit organizations. Social entrepreneurship, the objective of impacting society in a positive way, is another element of innovation and entrepreneurship. And this really relates to a variety of skills. Now, there's motivations that are different. One is monetary gain. That would be the more traditional motivation behind entrepreneurship. But also, again, relating to social entrepreneurship, there's societal and or environmental gain that can also be realized through innovative entrepreneur kind of activities. So the next question, what skills can someone develop from this area and how might you benefit? Skill development falls in a number of different categories. One is just problem solving, critical thinking, thinking about things taking information and thinking about things in a new and different way. Again, communicating that concept, that idea, doing research on the industry or on competitors that are existing in the marketplace, for example. Also, customer discovery, understanding who might the customers be and what are their needs, what are they looking for. This also then involves target market identification, doing a competitive analysis, figuring out who is in the landscape and who in fact is providing similar or competitive services. Financial modeling is a critical component, really understanding what the numbers look like, expenses, revenues, profits, what does that look like from a numeric standpoint? Raising funds is a major role for the entrepreneur, and then managing that organization as it falls into motion. Leveraging those skills are valuable in a number of different situations. So I'll take a little bit of a side to say that even in non-entrepreneurial experiences, innovation, understanding the skills that people learn from entrepreneurship is really applicable in a number of different careers and a number of different roles. Again, it might be for your own venture, or it might be to help your role within an organization. So there's a question about, is innovation and entrepreneurship an area that might fit for you? I'll just make a couple comments about this in terms of, if you are kind of naturally thinking about ways to improve your daily life, to improve products, services, processes, that might be an interesting fit. If you like to work with people, if you're comfortable with calculated risk, not a gambler, but comfortable with calculated risk, those are a few of the elements that typically are indicative of people that enjoy innovative, entrepreneurial kind of an activity. And again, these applications are a wide range in terms of multiple disciplines and areas of business that these apply to. I'm convinced that the skills that come from an entrepreneurial kind of an experience are really valuable in a number of different ways. But specifically, what are some opportunities that are available once you have some base of understanding around innovation and entrepreneurship? I'll talk about 3 paths that are available here on campus, for example: majoring, minoring in entrepreneurship, or just being involved in engagement both on and off campus. The Lundquist College of Business does offer a major in entrepreneurship. It has a core of 4 courses basically that are taken in addition to the major courses in business that allow you to really understand in areas of forming new ventures, accounting, marketing, and also implementation. The minor in entrepreneurship is relatively new and incredibly popular. It has an appeal to a number of different majors throughout campus. And the interesting thing is that there's an opportunity to really tailor your experience based upon your area of study. I'm convinced that this minor in entrepreneurship is an incredibly powerful way to really differentiate your resume. This minor allows you to pursue a collection of courses, but also have exposure to what it's like to launch a new venture, entrepreneur marketing, or what's called the Lean Launchpad experience, and then again, an accounting course that's specifically designed for entrepreneurs. Now, there are a number of different opportunities. If you're not going to be a business major with an entrepreneurship focus, don't have interest in the minor program, you can still become involved in entrepreneurship clubs. They happen on a regular basis, and they're incredibly great opportunities to get exposure to entrepreneurship, including some really powerful guest speakers. Net Impact is an organization that complements the entrepreneurial kind of an experience. The Oregon Consulting Group is another opportunity that you can explore and engage. And again, there are a number of speakers and other programs on campus that allow you to get exposure to entrepreneurship regardless of what your major or minor might be. Now, I want to also mention that there are some really cool off-campus opportunities. One is the University of Oregon's relationship with the Regional Accelerator and Innovation Network, or referred to as RAIN. This is a private off-campus organization that does work with entrepreneurs of all kinds and has a number of support services. The Oregon Entrepreneurship Network, as well as the Technology Association of Oregon, are other off-campus opportunities that you can engage with and really, again, tap into to get more exposure, more ideas, more resources. Now, I'll make a comment about some career opportunities that relate to innovation and entrepreneurship. It may surprise you. Most people that step into entrepreneurship do not do that immediately out of their undergraduate experience. They typically will seek experience in the industries or with businesses that they have interest in. They'll leverage that experience and may then start a venture 7 to 10 years after that kind of a window. So that's really a typical kind of a path that entrepreneurs take. But there are all kinds of resources, again, both here on campus and off campus, that can prepare for that process. Some of the ways that you can learn more is to visit the Lundquist College of Business website. Contact the Entrepreneurship Center. Kate Harmon is a great person to reach, and you can reach her by email at kharmon2@uoregon.edu. Join a club that I mentioned before. Look into the entrepreneurship class. There's a really interesting BA 199 entrepreneurship class that gives you a great overview of what entrepreneurship is like in general. And you can contact me. I'd love to field any questions that you have about the programs that are available, the experiences that you might take advantage of, or even the stories that have come out of the program. So thanks again. I appreciate your patience with our technical issue, and also I'd love to hear any questions that you might have.
So we do have time for questions, and so if you're a student watching in Zoom, we hope that you will write your questions in the Q&A for us. I'll be paying attention on my phone, but Doug, I know that you have a practical background. You actually are a practicing consultant. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do outside of your teaching?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So I do consulting work, and that has been my background, as well as teaching. The role of the consultant has directly been correlated with entrepreneurial kinds of ventures in many cases. New startups that are trying to figure out how they find their way. It's really interesting in that some entrepreneurs begin their business because they're passionate about a technology or a product or a service. They don't always have a great grasp on the business attributes that go on behind the scenes. Again, how you understand the numbers of entrepreneurship, how you reach your target market, how you define that target market, how you differentiate yourself from competitors. So those are a number of the areas that I've helped entrepreneurial entities with in that consulting role.
Thank you. Do you spend time, I know that you teach, and do you mentor any of the student clubs or organizations that you mentioned, and do you have any stories of some of the students that you've mentored and what they've gone on to do?
Yes, I've had involvement in a couple of different ways with students that have gone through the program, have come up with a business idea, and then launched that business during their academic experience. Again, statistically, they tend to represent a relatively small percent, but it does happen. So for example, I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of ketchup,
yes.
But there is an MBA group here that started their ketchup product several years ago. And so I worked with them through that experience, through the launch of the business, and even today they've had some really interesting success. Another interesting experience that I had was with peanut butter. And I had Erica and Kaylee in the Introduction to Business class when they were making peanut butter in their dorm room. And they came into my office and we talked about it, and I just thought, these two students were so excited and they didn't have a chance. Well, today, Wild Friends is in over 18,000 stores. They have presence in Whole Foods shelf. They've had a really fascinating kind of entrepreneurial experience, and it all began because of their initial interest in starting their business.
Well, and they were on Shark Tank. Is that the show that they were on?
Yes, they were. In fact, it's so interesting. If I could just mention a couple quick things, Cora, about that, is that they were on Shark Tank. They got an offer from Barbara, I think $40,000. The deal did not come together, and that kind of worked out to their benefit because every time Shark Tank aired, it's been aired at least 5 times, they've had this dramatic increase in sales. They could not have afforded to buy the advertising that Shark Tank offered them, even though the deal didn't come to fruition.
That's amazing. I've been on campus and watched those students. I actually bought some of their original product when we had the street fair a couple of times, and I was in one of the ketchup focus groups, so it's fun to hear that you were part of those things too. Couple questions coming in from students. Thomas wants to know, can you minor in entrepreneurship if you're a major that is in the College of Arts and Sciences?
Yes, you can. In fact, my experience has said that that's a great compliment to have that minor, for example, with an arts and sciences major. there is a very clear kind of track that you can follow for the minor program. You don't even have to declare that you're a business minor. You just need to understand the courses that you need to take, most of them not necessarily in sequence. But once you do that, you then qualify for the business minor. And it's a great complement to a lot of majors, including arts and sciences.
Thank you. Elise wants to know, what classes do you teach in the College of Business?
Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. I teach Introduction to Business, so it's BA 101. It's actually the first course that most everyone takes, business majors, business minors, people that have interest in entrepreneurship and innovation. Then I also have taught the entrepreneurship class, the BA 199 class. I teach BA 453, which is the last class that business majors take. It's called Business Planning and Strategy. And then I also teach in the MBA program here on campus, the Marketing Strategy class, as well as in the Oregon Executive MBA program in Portland, and that is also the Marketing Strategy class.
Do you have a favorite course that you teach, or one that stands out as one that you look forward to the most?
I love BA 101. I love Introduction to Business. The reason why I love it so much is that this is a general education course. I think 23% of students on campus take this class.
That's a lot.
And for many of those students, it's like their first glimpse of how business might relate to their career. And again, it can result in a business minor for some, in a business major for others, or just to at least get an exposure to business in general. And I love that moment for students when they get it, when they kind of find out where that fit is going to work best for them.
Nice. It's awesome to hear that you love the teaching first-year students. As an orientation professional, I love hearing that from faculty members. Wyatt wants to know, how difficult or realistic would it be to double major in business administration and entrepreneurship? And there's some nuance there that I think that might be at play here.
Yes. So I'll say that it's not difficult at all, but basically you would have a business major with a concentration in entrepreneurship. And you could have multiple concentrations, for example, in management as well. But it's a really cohesive kind of program. It's relatively efficient. And again, for a lot of students, they find that to be just a really great fit to position themselves for the career that they want to pursue.
Well, and we, back to a previous question, I know so many students in supervising them that are double majors in business administration and political science or history or journalism and communication, that double major in two separate schools and colleges feels like a really enriching opportunity for students and gives them several different ways to have experiential learning as part of their academic pursuits.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And there are a number of students that do that and come away with a really, powerful combination of degrees.
Okay, so Giancarlo wants to know, I'm still unsure of what exactly an entrepreneur is. It's an excellent question. As the word is thrown around so much, how would you define entrepreneur?
An entrepreneur is someone that creates an innovative, unique solution and then commercializes it, creates a business around it. In most situations, it's for a for-profit basis. But again, it can also be social entrepreneurship. For example, there is a business called Seiko. It's actually based out of Portland. And it is a business that has African women creating products that basically then allow them to go to university. And the whole focus of this business is to have these women attend university. But entrepreneur experiences are around doing things in a very different way for the goal to be realized, either for profit and or for social service contributions.
So one of the things that I know about the College of Business is that experiential learning, so things happening outside of the classroom like internships or jobs or getting involved in the clubs and organizations like the consulting group are a huge part of a lot of the student success. Can you talk about a little bit about what that means, especially since you're a practitioner yourself in the business world? Can you talk about what those experiences mean to a student's future?
Yes, in fact, I'll start by saying that there is a great kind of network and a great resource base to identify internship opportunities. So for example, that might happen during the summer as you're progressing through the program so that you can have actual experiences working in business. So that's one kind of opportunity. Cora, the organization that you mentioned, the Oregon Consulting Group, is where students, it's a student-run organization, and they actually do consulting for actual businesses for a fee basis. The fee comes to the organization, and they have these incredible experiences that give them real life kind of exposure to business problems, but also allow them to tell a story that can be very unique and very powerful as they have left the university and then are pursuing their career. So there's a number of different opportunities like that that are available to students. One thing I also want to mention is that there is a business plan competition experience. This is a really common kind of activity within the entrepreneurial world. A number of universities throughout the country host these, throughout the world actually. And the University of Oregon's program is a very aggressive and well-received program that allows students to take their concept, typically in teams of 2 to 4 students, and pitch their business plan to panels that allow them to get feedback, exposure, and gain experience.
Fantastic. Okay, so Max wants to know, can you tell us more about what the Entrepreneur Club does on campus?
The Entrepreneurship Club meets on a regular basis. One of the main objectives of that organization is to expose students to other entrepreneurs. So guest speakers are a very large part of what they provide. They also, though, arrange site visits. So for example, if you're interested in a particular industry or a particular company, they basically arrange site visits so that you can have that glimpse into that organization. There are also some tools and resources that, again, connect with internship opportunities as well.
Fantastic. Brian wants to touch a little bit on the topic of risk. How do you approach risk when that risk is not personal, but rather affects a population you are trying to help? For example, trying to start a business with fair trade items, if you fail, it will hurt the low-income producers.
Yes. So I want to make a comment about risk because entrepreneurs view risk very differently. They don't go to Vegas. True entrepreneurs have a calculated kind of a risk perception. They look at what the potential outcomes are and then make their choices. Now, risk also does apply to what can happen, for example, when a business enlists the employment of a group of people anywhere in the world. And risk is important to calculate from that standpoint. If the venture fails, what is the potential cost to that community, to that population, to that group of people? So again, it's another element that entrepreneurs need to think about. Take calculated risk, not unnecessary or unwielding risks, and make decisions on that basis.
Thank you. April wants to know, what are some good majors that complement a minor or double major in entrepreneurship?
April's not going to like this because my first response is, I don't know of a major on campus that wouldn't benefit from an entrepreneurial kind of situation. And this is why I say that, is that, for example, for an architect, for a counselor, you may have the idea that you want to own your own business someday. You want to have your own firm. The skills that you would gain through an exposure to entrepreneurship are invaluable. So I think there are many majors on campus that really can benefit. And as I mentioned before, the most unique aspect is that it can be a very powerful resume differentiator to have that on your resume as a part of your major that there is exposure to entrepreneurship, either as a minor or even just in your involvement in other aspects of the program.
Well, too, I think thinking about it in a different way, an entrepreneurship concentration can certainly enhance the potential for a psychology major to be successful in their own business down the road. But certainly what they're learning in psychology can also help them think about the way that business is practiced, right? So both can inform each other quite well in that kind of scenario. So sounds like any major and entrepreneurship are good complements to each other for critical thinking.
Yes, no question. In fact, I'll jump in and say that I was a psychology minor with a marketing business major. And for me, that really worked because of the complement there. And so again, there are other majors on campus that I think can really benefit from not only the skills that you develop through an entrepreneurial kind of a program, but also the fact that you may own your own business someday. And those skills can really be powerful.
Thank you. Kyle wants to know, if you had one piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would it be?
The first thing that comes to mind is to understand what you're passionate about. Identify what excites you. Use that as a guide to pursue the direction that you're going to take. And on that basis then, structure everything around that. People that are passionate about things, topics, themes, tend to excel at that. And then tailor your own both academic and work experience around that passion.
One of the things that we know about Gen Z, the generation that's coming in as first-year students to the U of O, is that they are entrepreneurial, that they have parents who own their own business, and they do want to be able to pursue a career in something that they're passionate about, not just something that will make them some money down the road, you know. And has that caused you to change the way you teach over the last few years in terms of helping I guess, germinate that passion and make sure that students are able to pursue those passions and become successful at whatever they love?
Yes, definitely. In fact, I just completed some research on Gen Z, and you're exactly right in terms of there's a very specific interest in the area of entrepreneurship. And one thing that is different, certainly than what the student population looked like 10 years ago, is that social entrepreneurship and businesses that have meaning in terms of the impact they have to either the environment, to the working population, to the overall economy are becoming more important for students versus just the financial motivation that historically has been an underlying theme of entrepreneurship. So again, we have seen courses change and new courses offered, new information brought in the classroom because of that shift that we have seen in recent years.
Thank you. Maya wants to know, if someone wanted to start their own firm, would you recommend taking business classes or minoring in business management? Oh, I mean, sorry, let me rephrase that. If someone wanted to start their own firm, would you recommend only taking business classes or having it as a minor in business management?
I'm going to go back to my comment about passion. If, for example, you're passionate about music or language or performing arts of any kind, architecture, the social sciences, follow your passion. Now, for some of you, for example, if you took BA 101 and thought this is it, then follow that passion. But either that minor path or, again, the major path can provide the resources that you need to really understand how to start your own business. A large part of it is just knowing how to tap into resources, and those courses in both of those areas allow you to do that.
So would you say, outside of having passionate about the thing that they're pursuing, what do you think is the next most critical skill that a student could have in terms of overall success down the road with some entrepreneurial endeavor?
One of the skills that we get feedback from people that have launched into the careers is, surprisingly enough, that the soft skills are what is some of the most powerful elements. And by that I mean communicating information, connecting with people, strong interpersonal skills. Those skills are some of the most valuable. And for some people, either employers or investors, those are considered to be the most difficult skills to teach. They can coach and learn a lot of other things, but sometimes those soft skills are some of the most challenging. People that possess them clearly have an advantage.
Yes, you can teach someone how to do math or run Excel spreadsheets, but teaching them how to be charming, to sell something is not necessarily a skill that's easy to teach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have any more student questions that are coming in. Is there anything, I like to ask this, we have a podcast as part of our work that we do with students and families, and one of my favorite questions for guests is for them to offer a tip or a trick or a piece of advice that for a new student or a family member that they wouldn't necessarily be able to find on our website. So there's tons of information on the U of O's websites and all over the place. But is there something that you would say is a good tip or trick or piece of advice that might not exist on the U of O's websites?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that actually I incorporate into that entrepreneurship class that I mentioned, but also I have talked to students about this, and it's a concept of select someone that you admire, that you are impressed by the career path that they have taken. Contact them and get 20 minutes with them, an informational interview, just to get some insight in terms of what their experience was. This can be really intimidating for some people, but everyone loves talking about themselves. And these people can be really flattered by being asked about a student that wants to understand a little bit more about what their history and what their experiences have been. And I have found it life-changing for some students that got insight that they could not have gotten in any other way. So that's, as intimidating as that may sound, I think that could be a really good tool.
Well, and finding that person doesn't have to happen right away. It could happen down the road too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It might be a guest speaker that you saw in a class. It might be from other contacts that you'd made. Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Well, and I think one of the things that it can also help do is sort of demystify, particularly around faculty members. Often faculty members, students are intimidated by faculty members, and really, truly, you all are real people too, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we're out of questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up this afternoon. I really appreciate for the students who are watching your time today. We want to make sure that you complete the short reflection on this session that we have available for you in the community.uoregon.edu course. If you have any difficulty with that, submitting those, please connect with your SOS or around that, and they can help troubleshoot that with you. But these help us track your attendance for these sessions and keep you moving on the right track to your orientation completion. If you have additional questions related to this program or anything related to introduction, please visit our website at orientation.uoregon.edu, or you can email us at orientation@uoregon.edu, and you can always text our office at 541-346-1159. Thank you so much again for your time watching us today, and to you, Doug, thank you for your time, and go Ducks.
Go Ducks. Thanks, Cora.